Hi everyone, I just wanted to give you a quick update on where we are with joint practice development, and I think the first thing to say is just a big thank you to everyone, both those of you who have been delivering the first sessions. You've set a pretty high bar, is my understanding, but also to those of you that have engaged with the sessions as on the receiving end, as it were. Really positive feedback, and I'm really pleased that we seem to have got a bit of a win-win here, with both giving you a chance to practice the important leadership skills of facilitating adult learning in a safe environment, whilst at the same time, sharing with one another lots of really good leadership development stuff that you've been trying out and been practicing with, which is one of the things that fellows have always said is a strength of the programme, but it feels like we're doing that more and in a more structured way, which is great. In terms of the quality of what you're doing, I think that's very good too. As I said earlier, that you've set a pretty high bar, those of you that have already done this. And I've been having a look at the materials on the Leadership Academy, of which there are lots. Obviously, people are uploading all of that, which is great. I think they're very innovative. I think they've got really good structures. And I think the other thing that strikes me is that they're really practical and helpful. So thank you very much for all of that. Wanted to just share with you some of the learning around what seems to be going well and some even better ifs about how you approach it, particularly for those of you that haven't done it yet. So I think the first thing to say is this does work well, and the outcomes are better if people really put the time in to plan it with their JPD partners. The more of that joint practice planning happens, it feels as if the better the outcome. And I know that's logical, but it is worth investing the time in that. Keeping the focus on leadership is really important. Making sure that the activities that happen in the session are varied without going mad, I think seems to be paying dividends. Making sure that fellows that you're presenting to and you're facilitating with understand how what you're talking about and the learning you're helping develop can be applied in the workplace is really important and has had really good feedback. And finally, making sure that what you're doing is rooted in really good leadership theory that's evidence-based. Again, that seems to be really important. In terms of the even better ifs, number one is well, how do we make that time to plan jointly together? And the two things that seem to be working best for that is obviously using conference call facilities or Skyping to do that planning, so you don't have to be in the same place, or looking at something else that you're engaging with in the program, whether that's a seminar or a challenge day or whatever, and just meeting a bit earlier beforehand to get some time together to plan. That seems to be working. The other two things really is, number one, just avoid too much teacher talk. Where there's too much teacher talk, sometimes it's not going down as well, just like lessons back at base. And secondly, where you've got mixed groups, trying to make sure that your session is not too subject focused, because obviously that is less relevant for some of the people that you're facilitating with than it is for others, would be the final thing there. And then the last thing, this is very new. There's no other organisation really doing what we're doing in this sort of a way. It's really exciting how it's going, but there are some things that we're learning as well about how to make this work more efficiently and more effectively for you. And so responding really to feedback, and from talking to some of you about this, we're going to make two changes to the way it works from a sort of practical perspective. The first is that in the sessions, once the delivery has finished of a particular input, what we'll do is slightly change the way we do the follow-up and review and the feedback discussion. So at some point in that, the group will actually split, and what the facilitator will do is sit and give feedback to the group and an individual in particular on the session from their perspective, so that you're getting that external experience view of the session, as well as the feedback you've had from your peers. And whilst that is happening, a real focus on the rest of the group, really thinking about how they can apply the leadership learning that they've taken from the session and make some commitments to action, if you like, for what they want to do with the learning that they've done. And then the second thing is just really to say that rather than sending, if you're presenting or facilitating a session, rather than sending that to the facilitator 2 weeks in advance, we think that we're not making the most of the process, because it's sort of taking the ownership of the peer group away from QAing the quality of what's done and giving that to the facilitator, which isn't actually joint practice development. And so we want to take that stage out, and we want to say that instead of doing that, when you think you've got your final product, that you send that to your joint practice development partners so that they can have a final check over and give you any final feedback, whilst at the same time you copy in the PEM that you work with, so that we know at Teaching Leaders that the thing's been done and it's all ready and there won't be any last minute panics or oh, we didn't know we were doing this sort of stuff. We've got that reassurance that the thing's ready to go. And I think what that will mean is, one, you've got better ownership of it as a 3, but also when the facilitator does then give feedback after having seen it, they're seeing it for the first time rather than having had those earlier discussions, which I think will make that a more productive process. So thank you, as I say, to those of you that have already done these sessions and for those of you that have engaged so well with them, and long may that continue. I look forward to seeing more of your work on the Leadership Academy and looking at the feedback from the sessions. I hope that all continues. So good luck to everyone, and thanks very much.